Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am really very pleased to be here in Vietnam this year and to this fantastic conference. Yesterday it was a very nice day. We had so many interesting sharing of information, presentation, and we ended up with a fantastic gala dinner. And thank you for being this morning with us. And I will try to share some of my experience. As Mr. Explained, I spent 25 years, all my career practical, in oils and fats industry. And during this time, I was traveling across the world, and I tried to promote food safety in all the plants and all the regions where I was working. I was leading for 15 years quality and food safety in Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia, and today I have a global role for AAK. So AAK is a company is a multinational company, but the headquarters, it is in Sweden. And this company is, has 150 years history, starting in Denmark and then in Sweden. There were two national plants which were producing a very high diversity of products. And our specialties now cover a very high range of applications, from food ingredients, plant-based oil for all type of application, bakery, dairies, food service, special nutrition. We are very specialized in offering special nutrition products. And we also offer a very high diversity of products for chocolate, spreads, fillings. We are also present in medical nutrition, in personal care, and of course in technical. So I tried in all our plants, 20 in total across the world, to promote the best practices and to raise the bar. And our principle is that no matter where we produced, we have to have the same standard. So in Vietnam, we do not have a plant, but we have a partner, and we place the product on Vietnamese market, and the quality is the same like we produce in the other plants, and especially in Europe. I explain about the two plants where the history started, in Denmark and in Sweden. These two plants merged together in 2005, and they were forming a new company, which is called AAK, which expanded globally. And here I am trying to continue the journey in promoting safety and chemistry and quality and nutrition. So practically, what we do in this company, we combine our expertise in these fields I mentioned: chemistry, nutrition, food safety, quality. We are listening our customers. We are listening the needs of the consumers. We are following the science, and then we try to come up with solutions, very tailor-made solution for our customers' needs. This session is mainly related to food contaminants, but I introduce few slides about nutrition because there are so many interlinked, nutrition and food safety. As I explained, we offer solutions, but we are using a very high diversity of oils and fats from different origins, which bring a certain quality and which bring also certain food safety risks. So more we know about this risk, better we could adjust our processes and propose the best solutions. We humans, we cannot live without fat. Fat is entering in the structure of every cell in our body, gives the structure, allow the transfer of nutrients into our cells and metabolic residues out. Fats are giving so much source of energy. They are carrying vitamins. Yeah, thank you. They are precursor for hormones, for vitamins. They interfere in our immune system. So practically without fat, we cannot survive. But not all fat are the same. So what we try here is to combine our knowledge and offer the best fat to our consumers. This is a basic slide in chemistry. Everyone knows fat are triglycerides. There is a glycerol bond, and there are fatty acids. And these fatty acids are very different. We have saturated, monounsaturated, and polyunsaturated. And depending on their structure, we could have different health benefits or different applications. So every plant is different. Moreover, the composition of fatty acids depend not only on the plant, but depend on the conditions where the plants are growing, about the soil, about the weather. When we planted these seeds, and this graph shows every oil is different, and if we have knowledge, we could choose the right oil for what we want. For example, if we want to use an oil for frying, we use coconut or palm oil, because you see the blue bar, which is saturated, it is stable, so we could fry and we could have a good structure of our ice cream or our bakery products using such variety of oils. But if we are interested to make a good salad, and we are very much wanting to offer a healthy products, then we choose the other variety of oils and fats: rapeseed, high oleic rapeseed, sunflower, high oleic sunflowers, because they are bringing a very high level of polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fatty acids. But in the real life, of course, we as consumers, we are using what we know from our parents and grandparents, and every market has certain habits, and certain oil are used in general for all type of application we are producing in our kitchen. I try to, my husband is cooking in our home, and I try to bring this knowledge, promoting use of different type of oils. And you always come back to sunflower, because this is the oil we used to eat when we were growing in our country. And it's very difficult to change the habit of the consumers. However, we as an industry, we could come up with formulations, and you could take this formulation on board for the final products. Of course, I already mentioned that fats are carrying of vitamins and other molecules like plant sterols, which are having certain health benefits. And I already mentioned we are very specialized in special nutrition. Kids and babies, they need so much good fat, very healthy fat to grow, for energy, for basal metabolism, for rapid growth. And of course, the best is the mother breastfeeding, yeah? And this is what we promote across the world. But unfortunately, sometimes we are obliged to have a substitute for mother breast milk, and then we are offering products which mimic the composition of the fat composition of the mother milk. And we are having a patent producing enzymatic product with palmitic oil in the middle of the glycerol bond, and this allows a very easy absorption of the fat and digestion, and also the optimized uptake of calcium. So we have a very high diversity of such products, and we are proposing and promoting them across the world. Of course, nutrition is key for our health, but we cannot put products on the market if they are not safe. So how to combine nutrition and food safety? I told that when I started my career in fats industry 25 years ago, at the time trans was a novelty, and we were talking a lot to understand how trans fatty acids are formed and removed or not formed during the refining. And then dioxin crisis appeared in Europe, and PCBs and polyaromatic hydrocarbons, and we were working for the next 10 years to understand and to remove these contaminants. And then 3-MCPD and GE arrived, which are process contaminants, and another 10 years I was working with my peers in Brussels till the legislation was in place. And now we talk about another emerging hazard, which are mineral oil. And practically in my speech today, I will touch a bit 3-MCPD, glycidyl esters, and MOSH-MOA. These are hazards which currently are not regulated in the Vietnamese and in Asia, and even outside Europe they are not regulated. But I think knowledge and science is crossing across the border. There is no border for science, and sooner or later this could change, the legislation could change, and I felt important to share such information with you. Yeah, as you know, during the processing and during refining of oils and fats, we are removing certain contaminants which come from the environment. We are removing pesticides, we are removing heavy metals, we are removing mycotoxins, for example. But these processes should be conducted in a way not to form process contaminants. I already mentioned trans fatty acids. Now I will talk about 3-MCPD and glycidyl esters, which could be formed if the conditions during refining are not well adjusted. So refinery is removing on one side the contaminants, on the other side we have to conduct it in a way not to form process contaminants, neither to destroy the benefits, the health benefits like vitamin and sterols. So we have to take care about nutrition. Of course, the costs are important, yield is important, efficiency is important, sustainability of our processes as well. So the secret, it is to combine all this information in the right process. So, a few words about these process contaminants. And I don't know, you should be familiar in food industry in general. The science has no borders, I know. You already know a lot about this. So 3-MCPD, 3-monochlorpropandiol, there are molecules which are formed in the oils because chlorine presence in the system and triglycerides. And we have also 2-MCPD, which is a molecule, it is shown here on the screen. It is not yet regulated in Europe because there is no enough toxicological information about it. And then glycidyl esters, another type of contaminants formed in the same refining process. And the health concerns are very serious. For glycidyl, these compounds are genotoxic. This means they are modifying our genes, so they should be not present in oils and fats. So the legislation is pushing for ALARA principle, which means as low as reasonable achievable. 3-MCPD, they are less toxic, but still they are carcinogenic, but not genotoxic. And for this, the science was able to set a tolerable daily intake, and derive from this tolerable daily intake, we could make a risk assessment and we could propose some limits. So, yeah, during refining, especially to the temperature above 180 degrees, if there are precursors like diglycerides in our oil, and then these glycidyl esters are formed, it is reaction, which is depending on the temperature. Higher the temperature, higher the amount of glycidyl esters. And as I explained, they are genotoxic and they are regulated. The regulation takes into account the type of oils and also the applications. As I explained, not all type of oils have the same risk. For example, palm, we call it red risk. And why? Because the amount of diglyceride in palm is very high. And the glycerides are precursor for glycidyl esters. So palm oil is very exposed to this hazard. And then we have palm kernel, less exposed, but still. And then the oil seeds are less affected by the formation because the level of the acid glycerol is very low. And mitigation, it is complex. There is not one method which fits for all type of oils. You have to combine the type of oil you are processing. You have to combine what kind of refinery you have. It is a chemical, it is a physical refining. How is the technology in this refining? It's a simple deodorizer, it's a dual temperature deodorizers. So depending on your plant infrastructure and the type of oil you process and the type of oil you want to produce, different type of mitigation are chosen. For example, in oil seeds, the idea is to prevent the formation. But if we have palm, the prevention is not helpful anymore. So especially if we want to produce an infant food, we have to mitigate, so we need supplementary processes in place, like post-bleaching and mild deodorization. So in a nutshell, there is a lot of knowledge here and customization of the mitigation depending what we process and what we want to produce. So, as I explained, legislation is in place in Europe. It is not taken on board in the other regions, but our global customers, and we have our sponsor here, Abbott, Nestle, Danone, all the big food players, especially in infant nutrition, they are proposing food safety across the world, and they ask the same limits. So here you see there is a small figures, but you could still read, depending on the application, if it is oil for general, for adults, the limit is 1,000 ppb higher, but if we go for oil for baby, the limit is 500 ppb, or if we offer an oil for infant nutrition, then the limits are far lower. So this is currently legislation in Europe, and as I explained, taken on board by our global customers. And I think it is very good because safety is for everyone, and we love our children, and we have to offer the same products across the world. For 3-MCPD esters, as I explained, again, in the same refining process, triglycerides and chlorine, which is present in water or in the oil even, during refining at temperature above 140, 3-MCPD ester are formed. They are less genotoxic, they are not genotoxic, but still they are carcinogenic, and limits are set again in Europe. I will not spend too much time on that, but as I explained for glycidyl ester, again, different type of oils with different risk. Mitigation is very different. 3-MCPD is a very stable molecule. Once it is formed, it cannot be removed. So the idea is to try to remove the precursor, especially chlorine, from the system. And to remove chlorine, you need to wash the oil. So you need to put water into the oil. And then this is helping to remove chlorine, so you could mitigate. But this addition of water washing require investments. So in these Asian countries, There are suppliers which already made such changes in their technologies, but there are others which require investments to remove this precursor for the formation of 3-MCPD. And again, depending on the type of refining, different conditions should be chosen to mitigate these hazards. Again, limits are different, and if you could read this table, you see for palm, the limit is 2,500, just because it is so complicated to remove chlorine and to mitigate palm. But for the other oilseeds, the limit is lower, 1,250. And again, if we offer a product for baby or for infant food, the limits are far, far lower. So the secret here, it is to understand what you refined, how you refined, and what you want to produce to be able to reach this quality. And there are a few words about mineral oil. This is another hazard, and it is coming from environment. As you know, MOSH, MOA, or mineral oil, it is not one compound. We talk about 100 compounds which are classified in MOSH if there is a structure which is saturated, either cyclid, either branches, or aromatic, and we call MOA, mineral oil aromatic hydrocarbons. So the difference between two classes is in their toxicity. While MOSH are accumulated in the liver, they create health concerns. The other MOA are genotoxic, so they should not be present in the final oil, especially those molecules which have a high number of aromatic rings. And here it is even much more complex to mitigate than 3-MCPD and glycidyl esters, because the sources are very, very multiple. There is a source coming with packaging materials, because you know when we recycle the cardboard, there are mineral oil which are printing inks, and these printing inks could enter into the food if there is a not good barrier. So this is one of the sources. Another are unintentional contamination, which could come with lubricants, with greases, with motor oil, with heating oils, which are used along the supply chains. And another category are even processing aids or even food additive based on MOSH, like paraffins or like white mineral oils, which are approved as safe, but they are bringing MOSH into the product. So how to mitigate? It is very complicated, because practically you have to address all these sources. And because we are in Asia, in Vietnam, and you produce palm and you produce coconut, I wanted to share with you some of our activities with our suppliers. We try to coach them and to work together to minimize the formation of MOSH and MOA. And you know, the production of coconut, we collect the nuts, we make the dehusking, cracking, we take the copra, and then we have to dry copra. And during this drying, with the direct dry, there is a formation of MOA and polyaromatic hydrocarbons. So we try to guide our suppliers to remove or to replace this type of drying with a much more modern drying, where there is not a contact direct between the smoke and the materials, to minimize the formation of MOA. And of course, we teach them also to look to the lubricants and to greases, because even food-grade lubricants, they contain MOSH and MOA. So how to select the right lubricants when it enters in contact with the food, not to contaminate the final products. So this is a work. There are investments. There is a need for a high commitment of our suppliers to check all type of lubricants and greases they are using to mitigate this hazard. So we promote and we share with them best practices. I told you MOSH and MOA, there are not two compounds, there are hundreds of compounds, and they are measured with chromatography, and then you got a hump, you see this chromatographic hump, one for MOSH and one for MOA. And then during drying, it is proven by very complicated techniques, analytical techniques, that during this drying, we are forming MOA, certain pHs, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, but also we are forming MOA. And once these MOA are formed, what to do with them? We have to remove. And to remove, as I explained, it's not so easy. If we split this hump per carbon fraction, there are some carbon fractions which are easy to be removed, which are low molecules, but there are others which are impossible to be removed because the boiling point is far, far higher versus the temperature which is used in the deodorization. So if you look to this graph, you see with the red bars, there are carbon fractions in crude oil, so there are present there, and with the blue bars are in the refined oil, so red is disappearing from refined oil, but is present in crude oil. So to summarize, mitigation is complex. Small carbon fractions till C20 are easy to be removed. Then we have medium fractions, which are much more complicated, but not impossible. And then we have very big molecules, especially the one coming from lubricants or for thermal heating oils, which are impossible to be removed. So prevention is the best mitigation. And the idea is to coach our suppliers and everyone in the supply chain to prevent. Because mineral oil is not a hazard only for oils and fats. It's a multi-sectorial contaminant, affect all type of food because lubricants and greases are everywhere. And mitigation require prevention. In oils and fats, it is even much more complex because these molecules are so much soluble and similar with triglycerides. So it is a long journey. It's a journey of commitment. It's a journey of investment and common work together with our supplier and customers to produce the same, to mitigate. And in terms of analytics, it is very complicated. It is not only complex method, it is also a method full of uncertainties. And it's a long journey, but we are here. And was practically my last slide. And I want to thank you for your attendance of my talk. And I'm here to answer all type of questions. I know that some slides are maybe too technical for some of you because you are not experts in oil and fats, but I wanted to keep them because if you take it home and revise, there are good learnings there. So thank you very much.